Every animal left the area 20 hours before the earthquake. Every single one. We still can't explain how. That is not a legend. That is the documented result of a scientific study conducted in northern Italy, where researchers from the Max Planck Institute fitted cows, sheep, and dogs with motion sensors and recorded their behaviour across months of seismic activity. Before each significant earthquake, the animals became collectively agitated, and the closer the epicentre, the earlier they started. 20 hours. In one case, the animals had been restless for the better part of a day before the ground moved. Scientists have spent decades trying to build an earthquake warning system from this. They have not succeeded. And the reason why is one of the most frustrating stories in modern science. The cases that started it all. In 373 BC, the Greek city of Haicheng was destroyed by an earthquake. Roman historians recorded that rats, snakes, weasels, and centipedes had abandoned the city days before it fell. Nobody knew what to make of it. 2,348 years later, scientists still don't know with certainty what to make of it. But the documented cases have kept accumulating. On February 4th, 1975, in Haicheng, China, snakes came out of the ground in the middle of winter. This matters enormously. Snakes are cold-blooded. Hibernating in winter, they need external heat to move at all. A snake emerging from its burrow in freezing temperatures is a physiologically desperate act, an animal behaving in a way that defies its own biology. Local officials also received reports of horses refusing to enter stables and dogs barking without stopping. They made a decision that remains one of the most debated in disaster management history. They evacuated the city. That night, a magnitude 7.3 earthquake struck. An estimated 150,000 lives were saved. In April 2009, a biologist named Rachel Grant was at a lake in Italy studying the effect of lunar cycles on toad reproduction. When the toads disappeared, she had been counting them daily for 4 years. One morning, 96% of the male toads simply were not there. They didn't come back for 10 days. When they did, they returned to complete their spawning, something toads almost never do, as breeding normally happens in a single continuous cycle. The interruption was unprecedented in her years of observation. The earthquake that struck L'Aquila 74 kilometers away happened 5 days after the toads left. Their pond, it turned out, had been sitting directly above the groundwater chemistry that was changing as tectonic stress built up beneath the region. And on December 26, 2004, hours before the Indian Ocean tsunami killed more than 230,000 people across 12 countries, something else happened. At Yala National Park in Sri Lanka, one of the worst hit areas where more than 60 tourists were washed away, wildlife officials found almost no animal casualties. Elephants had trumpeted and run for higher ground. Flamingos abandoned their low-lying nesting areas. Dogs along the coast refused their morning walks on the beach. At a village in Thailand, a herd of buffalo grazing near the shore suddenly raised their heads, turned, and stampeded uphill. The bewildered villagers who followed them survived. Those who didn't follow did not. Not one elephant was reported dead anywhere in Sri Lanka. What they are sensing, scientists have identified several possible mechanisms, none of them fully confirmed, but all of them plausible. The first is infrasound. Elephants communicate using frequencies far below human hearing range, and can detect vibrations traveling through the ground from miles away. The seismic waves generated by an underwater rupture travel through the Earth's crust at speeds several times faster than the ocean waves they trigger. And elephants near the Sri Lankan coast may have felt the earthquake itself, through its feet, long before the first wave appeared on the horizon. The second is groundwater chemistry. When tectonic plates grind against each other in the days before a fault ruptures, the enormous pressure fractures microscopic structures in the rock. This releases electrically charged particles, ions, that seep upward through groundwater. Animals like toads, which absorb water through permeable skin, would experience the chemical shift directly. Toads in a pond sitting above a stressed fault are essentially bathing in the early signal of a coming earthquake. NASA scientists contacted Rachel Grant after her L'Aquila study because their laboratory research had already been showing how extreme rock stress changes water chemistry, and they suspected the toads had been responding to exactly that. The third mechanism is ionized air. Rock under pressure releases charged particles into the atmosphere as well. Some researchers believe animals sense this through their fur, skin, or the fine receptors in their nostrils. A subtle electrical tingle in the environment that grows stronger as the fault approaches rupture. This is what the Italian farm studies lead researcher Martin Wiklerski suggested was the most likely explanation for the cow's 20-hour lead time. Any one of these signals, or all three together, would give certain animals a window of warning that no instrument currently in use can reliably provide. Why scientists still cannot use it? Here is the problem, and it is a deep one. Animals behave strangely all the time. A dog that won't eat might be sensing a coming earthquake, or it might have an upset stomach. Toads might abandon a pond because of a predator, a change in water temperature, or a storm system moving in. The 20 cows on an Italian farm that became restless before an earthquake were also, during that same period, cows on a farm. Reacting to farm things. To use animal behavior as a warning system, you need to know two numbers: how often animals behave unusually before an earthquake, and how often they behave unusually when no earthquake follows. Most of the existing research only measures the first. The second, the false alarm rate, is almost completely undocumented because nobody records the times their dog paced nervously and nothing happened. This is confirmation bias in its purest form. The 2018 review of 180 published scientific studies on animal earthquake behavior found the same flaw in almost every single one. They documented unusual behavior that preceded earthquakes, but failed to establish a baseline showing that the behavior was genuinely predictive rather than coincidental. The Haicheng evacuation itself illustrates the trap perfectly. It succeeded and became famous. But 1 year later, a magnitude 7.8 earthquake struck nearby Tangshan with no warning at all. Number animal signals, number evacuation. More than 240,000 people died. The same monitoring system that saved Haicheng missed Tangshan entirely. What comes next? The Max Planck researchers are still working. They are building a global network using satellite systems on the International Space Station to track thousands of animals simultaneously across multiple earthquake zones. The idea is that a single restless cow tells you nothing, but thousands of animals across a wide region all showing unusual behavior at the same time would be a signal too large and too consistent to dismiss as noise. It is a genuine scientific bet on a very old idea. Modern accelerometers, satellite telemetry, and machine learning offer tools that nobody had when the snakes of Haicheng walked out into the cold. We can now measure what the animals are doing with precision. What we still cannot do is hear what they are hearing, feel what they are feeling, or know what they know. The toads at L'Aquila left 5 days early. The elephants of Sri Lanka walked uphill. The snakes came out of the frozen ground in January. Something is being communicated between the earth and the animals that live closest to it, in a language we have not yet learned to read. The signals are real, we just haven't built the translator yet. If this completely changed how you see the animal world, subscribe and hit the bell. There's a new story every week. Drop a comment, which animal's story shocked you most? See you in the next one.